agricultural methods are, something we've been doing for generations, centuries really. Nothing has changed in terms of Indian agricultural practices and methods. They said we get terrible quality inputs, whether it's pesticides, whether it's seeds, we get shortchanged, we get spurious material. They talked about, I think the biggest one huge problem for them is market access. They're always in debt. They tend to sell their produce to people they borrowed money from, so they get shortchanged on prices. So market access is another huge problem. And of course, fragmented land holdings. So there's a huge amount of work to be done in rural areas, and people like Prahlad keep talking about wealth at the bottom of the pyramid, but really, I feel his other concept which he created, co-creation of wealth, is far more appropriate to the situation. If you can work with rural India, co-create wealth, we sort of sit outside and we want to take something out of that, the rural wealth. But if you can help to create that wealth, I think that's a far better model for a country like India. And really our focus should be on some of these key burning issues in agriculture today, which are the old methods, the inputs, the quality of inputs, and of course market access and fragmentation of land holdings. Some of the things which have already started is like trying to find another model for farming. The cooperative model has been found to be good in certain things like milk, it's done wonders, but in the rest of development in agriculture, some other models similar to cooperatives, and people have been talking about producer companies, and I think it's a very good idea where you get at least a group of farmers to come together, and one or two of them are a little more entrepreneurial than the rest, and they put together what they call as an association of persons. It's like every member has one share in the company, and they work together, and somebody tries to direct and puts the produce together, markets it in one lot. And it started in certain parts of the country and it's working fairly well. In terms of methods of agriculture, I think something which Ashish spoke about this morning, Notel, was a very good thing. We've been looking at, if we sort of looked at our role as not just selling fertilizers to rural India, but making sure that we're attending to soil health, the quality of the soil which they're working with. So we are sort of like, industry becomes doctors for soil health. Then we make sure that people use the appropriate fertilizer in the right quantities and really look at what is the resultant effect it's having on soil health. Market access, of course, a lot of work has been done by companies like ITC in terms of dissemination of knowledge, prices, making the farmers aware, better communications. So there are things where I think there are links, and IT can be a big help in some of these areas. The other area Pramod asked me to talk about, should I just move on straight to climate change? Climate change is something where India's not really been in the thick of things, but we are now, the pressure is beginning to build on us, because people have realized that, despite our relatively small global footprint, as the minister was saying that day, when India develops and grows as rapidly as we are planning to, our footprint will grow enormously. And what do we intend to do about it at that point of time? There are pressures on India to put a cap on, a ceiling on the carbon emissions from this country. But there's another view which the politicians, it could be just a talking point. Look, per capita, our carbon footprint is so small that we're way below other countries, and therefore we should be allowed to grow without having fetters put on us. Nevertheless, I think in June last year, the Prime Minister created what he called the NEPCC, a national plan on handling climate change. And in this, he's created 8 missions. One is on solar power, one is on energy efficiency, the third one is sustainable habitat, fourth is municipal solid waste management, urban public transport, water resources, Himalayan ecology, greening of India, preserving its biodiversity. Sorry, it's actually 10 because some of these are subgroups. Then there's sustainable agriculture and strategic knowledge on climate change. So some work has started in that. A national plan is being drawn up. Terry was asked to make a white paper. We put up something in December last year. And this is the sort of stuff which is ongoing at the moment with the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Now here again, I think there could be a role for IT, particularly in terms of energy efficiency, where you've been talking about it here, but the technology will certainly help. There could be other areas like, I guess, water resource management, even soil health in agriculture, sustainable agriculture, where again, technology will be a huge advantage and help.
Homi, before you move on, so I mean, these are great global topics.
Yeah.
I'm the CIO of a steel company, or a chemicals company, or a FMCG company, or a PVR cinemas. What does this mean for me?
Well, I think every company is now seriously looking at its own carbon footprint.
Okay.
So any help, assistance, guidance in either the awareness of what the carbon footprint is, or some way of bringing it down is a role as CIO can certainly play. So it's like, let's not forget about the macro issues, but at least micro, in your own companies, there's a lot to be done. And you need people, and you probably team up with a group of people who are really going to be involved in the company's carbon footprint.
So are you thinking about an initiative where a bunch of CIOs could get together and say, we are going to try and improve the carbon footprint of our respective companies, and let's together work on making that happen? Is that?
The network could actually share information, what they're doing in their companies, and become sort of like a link person on this between companies. Certainly a role there.
And are there similar examples of, say, the inclusive growth part, where even as part of your business you can?
Yeah, I suppose there are companies, but there it's like a cooperative initiative like Cio'S.
Right.
But in most companies there are volunteer programs, volunteerism. People do go beyond their jobs, and I think that's what this session is about. How do you sort of take on something which is meaningful beyond your immediate scope of work?
Right. But does it always have to be a volunteer thing in the sense of it doesn't have a direct impact, or can you actually combine the impact of volunteerism with a direct benefit to the business?
See, if a company has a sustainability program of its own, by all means you can participate in that, work towards that.
Right.
But there are some companies who may not have anything related to these areas, sustainability. Then the individual can himself put aside some of his time to work on these issues.
And everybody doesn't have to do sustainability. So somebody could do sustainability, somebody could do diversity, somebody could do carbon footprint, somebody could do security, which brings us to Raghu. Sorry, I don't want to bracket you as a security guy.
In any case, Bhavat, I don't think security can be bracketed. Let's face it. Oh. For a simple reason that, and let me answer your question first, which is that what do I do? So if I'm PVR CIO, what do I do about security starting Monday morning? I don't think that if you want to be C, then there are certain elements that you have to do beyond your immediate job. That's how you become a C. Otherwise, you'll be head of IT. Don't call yourself a C. So I think to a certain extent, just expanding the scope of responsibilities, of awareness beyond your immediate circle is the first step to going to the high table. And in many ways, the issues about security, and especially the next 2-3 minutes, the issues about security I'm going to talk about have got nothing to do with the IT part of security. I mean, all said and done, and some of you must have heard me saying this before, I think we are living in a part of the world today, if you just put that map in front of you, visually, and start looking around the countries all around, whether it's Afghanistan, Pakistan, J&K, China, Nepal, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, they are all up in flames. They are failing countries, they are nuclear countries, they are hostile countries with whom we have fought wars in the past. They are people who are sending literally lakhs of migrants into our cities. I mean, many of you would probably find this in the next few years. You will find in Kerala, there are Bangladeshi nationals working in Kerala as laborers, and they call themselves from Orissa, but they are from Bangladesh. So you have that kind of infiltration happening. Now you can't really say that I will operate in my own chrome and glass building in BKC and none of this will affect me. It's definitely going to affect you. One way or the other it's going to affect you, whether it's going to affect you by, and Homi spoke about the disparity between rural and urban development. Let me assure you, even in the urban environments, even in cities, the disparity between those who have money and those who don't have it is enormous, and it is at times much more striking, because if you go to the hinterland villages, you don't find people starving